Welcome to Winnow, an introduction to the Winnow user interface. The menu is accessible at the top of the application, but it's also accessible in the main viewing area, which is kind of handy if you want to hide the menu to make more space on your screen. You have access to all the same menu commands. And within the menu, for every item where there is a shortcut available, it'll be listed. You can also see shortcuts by going to Help and the document for the shortcuts, where it lists all the shortcuts by category. The main components are the central viewer, which is this part that's showing the image, and then at present there's 6 panels. There is a folder panel, which shows all the folders on your computer. Bookmarks are perhaps favorite folders that you wish to establish shortcuts to. Filters to filter all the information, all the different images based on different categories. The metadata panel, which shows the metadata that a photographer would most likely want to be able to see, and an embellish panel, which allows you to customize the look of the image. And finally, there's a film strip or thumb views at the bottom. And this is the classic layout that is the default for Winnow that we're looking at right now. Within the main viewing area, there's 4 different views. This is the loop view that we're currently looking at now. A single click will zoom you in or zoom you out. Once you're zoomed in, you can pan around. The other options for views is a grid view. There's a table view, which shows almost all the metadata that is available. See, and it can be sorted by any one of these columns, and we'll just make a selection of 4 images. And there's a compare view where you can compare images. This would be more useful if they're all a picture of a duck, for example. We're seeing where we got the best pixels per duck. Let's see now what's next. In the panels, for example, let's go to the filters panel here, or there's the panel header, and within the panel header there's custom buttons. For example, this button collapses or expands the filters. Now also, another important feature of the header is if you drag on the header, you can move the panel. So for example, now we'll move the panel to float in the middle of the screen, or you can drag it right out of the program and say onto a second monitor or to the side, or you can dock it on the other side or the bottom, and so forth. And when you brought it back, you notice the metadata panel ended up to the left, and you can change the order of the panels by simply dragging. So if we move it out into the center to float again, once it's floating, if you double click on a header, it'll return to its docked position. Now the thumbs at the bottom, you can change their size by simply dragging the separator in the thumb panel to make it bigger or smaller. You can also, like the other panels, move the thumbs so that perhaps they're on the side here. And you can make the thumbs bigger and smaller here by using the shortcut square bracket. So for example, now we've made it 3 and 4 wide, or we'll move back to 2. And I'm going to go into the program preferences, and under thumbnails, I'm going to say I want to show the label. When you show the label, it shows the file name in the label, or you can hide it. Up to you what you would prefer to do. If you drag the thumbs out so they're floating, then you could resize them. And you could make this quite large and drag it onto a second monitor, for example, if you preferred to have a layout where the Winnow program was occupying one monitor and the thumbnails were on a second monitor. And like the other panels, if you double click it, it'll return it to its previous layout condition. So moving back to the default layout for Winnow, I was able to make that instant change because Winnow incorporates a concept called workspaces. And what a workspace is saving the layout for however you've oriented all the panels and the size of the main program window. So if we change to another one that I've created here called filters on the right, then in this particular case, we now only have folders and bookmarks in the main panel that we had at the start. Metadata has been moved below it on the left-hand side, and filters are now on the right-hand side. Now, you probably noticed now the embellish panel is missing. So we can get that back by going to the window and clicking on the embellish editor. Now here, it's back here. Now let's just say that we preferred this particular layout and wanted to replace the layout we just had with the one that includes the embellish module. Then we can go into workspaces, into manage workspaces. We can select the filters on the right and we can say update to the current layout, and done. Now if I go back to the original layout and then I jump back into the filters on the right, embellish is now also included in this layout. And to jump back, I've been using the shortcut for the workspace that I've been using, the one to record this video, which is Control-1, which is what I'm about to do again. Now you can also customize a couple of global parameters, the luminosity of the background and the font size. And to do that, you need to go into Preferences. And you can access Preferences through the Edit menu and Preferences, where it also shows the shortcut is Control plus comma. In addition to that, you can also access the properties from some of the headers in the panels. So here all these do the same thing. So in general, we can change the background luminosity, make it really dark, make it lighter, so you can pick your preference. Within preferences, often if you double click on the description, it'll move you back to the default. And also you can change the font size. For example, let's change the font size to 13, and you can see the fonts have all got quite a bit larger. And so let's move that one back to 10. And in addition to that, within the loop view, you can view the shooting information, which is I, and you can show a rating badge, which is Control plus I. So here's the shooting information, and you can customize what you see here. That's covered in another video about the token editor. And in addition, we can look at the rating badge. And here's the rating badge in the loop view and the same rating badge for each thumbnail. And you can see in some cases, like for example, this one here, the image has a rating of 5 and a color of label of green. And you can customize how large these are by going into the properties, which I'm going to access by Control I, and again in general, and under the classification badge size for the loop view, you can make it larger or smaller, or back to the default. And you can do the same thing in the thumbnails, making them silly large or quite small. And of course, you can make them disappear again. For the badges, it's Control plus I, and for the shooting information, it's the shortcut I. You can also customize what you can see in the metadata panel. So in the metadata panel, This is all the metadata that you can currently see in Winnow, but if you can customize what you actually see here, and if you go to the properties from here, it'll be clever enough to take you to the metadata panel items section. Now, if you weren't really interested in any of the status information down here, you could just click on the show status and it'll hide all that, or you can see it all. Or if just for items within it, for example, say you couldn't care less about the email or the URL metadata, then you can just click off email and URL, and from now on you won't see that in the metadata panel. Now the other section that you can customize what you see is in table view. So table view right now is including, I think, all of the columns that are available. But let's say that you really weren't interested in seeing let's say the ingested column or the picked column. Then what we can do here is we can go back to the preferences again, which is Control plus comma, and we can go to the table view columns, and we can get rid of the ingested here, and it's disappeared. And if we get rid of the pick, now it's gone. And you won't see those again until you turn them back on. So that's the Winnow userface introduction. I hope you're enjoying Winnow, and thank you for watching.